In 2022 there were several outstanding films, but overall there were a lot of movies that didn't live up to expectations. The audience did not accept them, and they failed at the box office. In this video, we're going to discuss about the worst movies of 2022. Morbius. It's unusual to see a Marvel film on this list, especially considering it's part of Sony's all-powerful Spider-Verse. However, Jared Leto's superhuman vampire Morbius proved to be a stumbling block for the franchise. On paper, the picture does not look to be a complete disaster. It topped the North American box office on its first weekend, with $39 million, and it made more than $160 million worldwide, more than double its production budget. These statistics, however, require some context. Following a strong domestic debut, it saw a 74% decrease in its second week, the worst of any big-budget superhero film to date. Regarding the $160 million-plus number, keep in mind that theaters often take up to 40% of entrance costs, distribution isn't cheap, and major movies, particularly huge superhero pictures, sometimes spend at least as much on marketing as they do on production. Studios seldom break out these numbers for the general audience, but Morbius appears to have broken even at best. Amsterdam. It wasn't intended to go off like that. This film has absolutely everything going for it. David O. Russell is the Oscar-winning director, and the ensemble is jam-packed with stars. Take a peek at this list: Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Anya Taylor-Joy, Robert De Niro. The stated budget for Amsterdam was $80 million. Not only did the picture not start well at the box office, but reviews were mixed. The film has a 33% critics score and a 60% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, suggesting that word of mouth will be limited. According to Deadline, Amsterdam stands to lose $97 million when everything is said and done. This includes an estimated $80 million budget and at least $70 million in marketing expenses, with a worldwide box office total of $35 million. The Post goes on to state that because of the change of location, Amsterdam became an extremely costly film. According to the article, the actors did not want to travel to Boston during the epidemic, so the site was shifted to Los Angeles. This upped the film's production cost from $50 million to $80 million. Russell has previously directed films such as The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle. Over the years, he has received 5 Academy Award nominations. According to the source, Amsterdam was not considered a payday for the actors involved, with some, such as Bale, taking a salary reduction to be able to work with them. Ambulance. The film was supposed to come out much earlier than 2022. Because the project is more minor than Michael Bay's other works, it is usually not mentioned. Bay joined the project during COVID restrictions. The director was not allowed to make a big movie because of restrictions, as budgets can only increase, and Bay decided to shoot a film very quickly. The shooting took only a month. It cost $40 million, but Bay could not contain himself within the small project, and all the time, something was added: the storyline, the additional helicopters in the frame. And sometimes, you get the impression that the movie was made to have a couple of unusual scenes. The audience did not like this movie, and the picture was able to collect only $8 million, and after the first week was only at number 4 in the charts. At the end of the worldwide box office, Ambulance brought in only $52 million for a budget of $40. Exciting news came after the rental of the film. Michael Bay left the biggest agency in Hollywood. They had worked together for over 20 years. And this is due to the failure of the Ambulance at the box office. And given that the director is now in apparent decline in his career, it is hard to say what will lead to a change of agency. The actor may get a second youth, or he may even start making B-movies. The 355. American spy drama The 355, directed by Simon Kinberg and Jessica Chastain. Penelope Cruz, Fan Bingbing, and Diane Kruger played lead roles in this film. The 355 is made under the banners of Freckle Films, Genre Films, Film Nation Entertainment, and Hawaii Brothers, who gave the world the Jason Bourne franchise and the new spy drama distributed by Universal Pictures. The filming process's start coincided with the virus's emergence and the many restrictions associated with it. Because of all this, The film's $45 million budget increased to $75 million. Well, after the film was ready, the film was postponed from 2021 to 2022. Despite a big advertising campaign, the movie didn't interest the audience and at the world box office could collect only $27 million. So just a month after hitting the theaters, the film has already been sent to streaming. They attribute such a failure at the box office to a failed advertising campaign. Viewers did not want to watch a copy of Charlie's Angels, as evidenced by the low viewer ratings. In the Youm College Sarah directorial, Johnson plays the role of Teth Adam or Black Adam, an ancient anti-hero who lived in a fictional North African nation of 5,000 years ago and is now reawakened. He is an archenemy of Shazam and is expected to face Superman. Earlier, Johnson was going to essay the character opposite Zachary Levi in 2019's Shazam, but decided to give the character a solo movie first. Apart from Johnson himself, Aldous Hodge, Noah Centineo, Sarah Shahi, Marwan Kenzuri, Quintessa Swindle, Bodhi Sabanbui, and Pierce Brosnan star, the cast is packed with talented names. Henry Cavill also appears as Superman in the post-credits. While Dwayne Johnson may have made a foray into superhero films by starring in DC's Black Adam, it looks like the project's company, Warner Bros., may lose up to $100 million. Variety first broke the story. According to Box Office Mojo, the picture made $384.6 million on a reported budget of $195 million. However, that budget excludes marketing and production expenditures, estimated to be between $80 and $100 million. Add in the theater cut, and WB is expected to lose a significant amount of money on the picture. Johnson modified the power structure in DC Universe, but he could not harness his enormous star power to make the picture a success. The Northman. Despite its star-studded cast and visual splendor, Robert Eggers' 2022 film The Northman was a box office disaster upon release. However, this could lead to a bright future for a sequel. Even though The Northman underperformed at the box office, director Robert Eggers made the most of his $90 million budget by ensuring that every historical detail was attended to and curated with the highest care, intelligence, and regard. However, a good budget does not guarantee a financially successful picture, as seen by the success of Eggers' The Witch and The Lighthouse, both of which had lower budgets yet are regarded as commercially successful indie films. The Northman tells the ancient Scandinavian legend of Amleth and his journey to seek to avenge his father. Being his third feature film to hit the mainstream cinema, The Northman maintained much of Eggers' directorial style and attention to detail. However, it did not make the profit that was expected in its release week, making only $23 million globally, far different from the projection estimations of $90 million. Though The Northman did not receive the projected box office acclaim, this failure may pave the way for Eggers to pour himself into his next project. Death on the Nile. One of those films that failed at the box office but was successful on streaming. It is the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which performed well at the box office in 2017, grossing $352 million on a budget of $55 million. Such success prompted the studio to immediately announce its intention to release a sequel as early as 2020, and filming began late 2019. The premiere from the end of 2020 had to be postponed and did it several times because the film's original budget of $65 to $70 million bloated to $90 million. In February 2022, Death on the Nile appeared in cinemas, where the picture failed, grossing only $137 million on a budget of $90 million. $30 million is the cost of a large number of postponements. When released on various online platforms, the film ranked first in views in the week of release. The studio somehow managed to earn something because the third film will be directed by Kenneth Branagh again. The film's budget is still unknown, but it will certainly not be more than the previous two pods. The King's Daughter is quite literally a film from another time. Filmed back in 2014 and held from release for a myriad of reasons. The adaptation of the 1997 novel The Moon and the Sun by Vondelin McIntyre. The King's Daughter is getting a lot of negative responses from the audience, and the film's impact has been even worse at the box office. According to reports, The King's Daughter was released in many theaters, but the audience has rejected this film in all terms, be it box office or reviews. According to Box Office Mojo, the American action-adventure drama film The King's Daughter was released on January 21st. Overall, The King's Daughter has collected $1.75 million at the domestic box office, while The King's Daughter's budget is around $40 million. Moonfall. Director Roland Emmerich was once one of the most successful directors in Hollywood. Many of his films brought studios hundreds of millions of dollars, but after 2010 Roland's career declined. His films began to flop one after another. In 2019, Emmerich decided to return to the disaster movie genre in which he was most successful. Moonfall was originally a studio project, but due to Emmerich's failures at one point, Universal, due to a huge budget, and abandoned the film. After that, Emmerich bought the rights and began to raise money from independent investors. People are still determining the exact amount, but the final budget varies from 130 to 150 million. This is a lot of money, and Moonfall is considered one of the most expensive independent films in history. At the last minute, the premiere was moved from 2021 to 2022. An advertising campaign had already begun, and the money was thrown away. Because of the transfer, no one decided to increase the advertising budget, spending to promote it with minimal amounts of money. Moonfall has a very average viewer rating of 5 out of 10. With a budget of $140 million and box office receipts of 67, Moonfall became one of the major flops of 2022. Pinocchio. A lot of people have been waiting for this movie. Many reviewers and fans regard Disney's original Pinocchio adaptation as one of their greatest and most beautiful flicks. That is not the case with the latest version. There's a lot that's bad about this, including Tom Hanks, who turns in a performance so wooden it's hard to tell who's the real puppet. Jiminy Cricket, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is so far off the mark it's embarrassing. Disney's lavish $150 million blockbuster that reunited Academy Award-winning Forrest Gump team Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks for a fourth time following Castaway, and The Polar Express, which died a miserable death from both a critical and viewership perspective. The film's huge budget of $150 million does not show up in any way when watching this picture. The film was released in limited distribution, and after a few weeks of showing it was only $37,000. It was decided to show it only on streaming. And it was the right decision, as the creators saved money on marketing, and no one was interested in the film. On IMDb it got 34,000 ratings and the title of one of the worst animated pictures of the last years.